introduce Thomas Nussbaum.
Yeah. And I'm going to be very brief because I want him to have all the time. Thomas Nussbaumer is native of Austria. He is from Innsbruck. His field research is right outside of town. That is, go up the mountainside, and he's into the area of Tyrol, the mountainous area, and you cross the boundary, the Brenner Pass, into Italy, and you're still in the German-speaking area, and he does research on the other side, that is in South Tyrol. Also in another linguistic area right there in the Ladin-speaking portion of Italy. He also does research there, and one of the places here is in the, I think only one, Puglia is the only Ladin area. Thomas Nussbaumer has his degree in musicology from the University in Innsbruck, and his dissertation was published in 2001, and in 2004 it won the National Austrian Folk Music Prize. And in a country that celebrates music the way Austria does, it's a very distinct, very wonderful, distinguished honor for him. So Thomas Nussbaumer will be talking about the carnival traditions, the Fasnacht traditions in Austria and over the boundary into Italy. So, shall I start?
Thank you.
Please. So, may I use the microphone? It's better?
Yes.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you very much to the Center for Excellence, to its director, Sharon. And thank you to Jim, who is my host here and who made it possible for me to talk about my field researches in the Austrian and Italian Alps. To lead straight ahead into my subject, I'll start with a short video. It shows a scene of the carnival in Bagolino, Italy.
No, continue.
Oh, continue.
Continue.
This recording was made by the Bavarian Broadcast Company and shows the finish of a new film about the carnival in Bagolino, Italy. The final dance called La Riosa. The last scene, I think, was very important. Bagolino is a little city on the border between the provinces of Trentino and Brescia in Italy, part of the Lombardia. Just to show you something about the Alpine regions, we continue to the focus, please. So here you see Europe, and this Switzerland, Austria. Here you see the Alps from above, and this is a map of. Oh, could we stay there?
Yeah, it's sort of doing it on its own now.
Yeah. Europe, as mentioned before, yeah, this one. Okay. You see Innsbruck over there, where I'm from.
It's a slideshow.
It's a slideshow, wonderful. So, but I guess most of you can imagine where the Alps are, and and maybe you know Austria, Italy, of course. Okay, then we put the DVD back again. So to continue, the Alps include parts of 7 countries: France, Switzerland, even Liechtenstein is a very small country, Austria, Italy, Germany, and Slovenia. The length between Nice in France and Vienna in Austria is more than 800 miles, and more than 11 million people live in the Alps and talk several languages: German, French, Italian, Slovene, and some minority languages. In Bagolino, Carnival happens every year on Monday before Lent and on Shrove Tuesday. Our recording of the Ariosa is of course wonderful because it shows the great emotions between joy about the overwhelming atmosphere of the final dance and sadness about the finish of the carnival time. This short recording may also give some impressions why carnival research is such an interesting and exciting field even for ethnomusicologists. Every year, male inhabitants of Bagolino come together to form dance groups. By the way, it isn't usual that women and girls take part in traditional carnival customs. That's typical for the Alps and other European regions. So men come together. Weeks before Carnival, they start rehearsing a very special traditional repertoire of 23 dances with names like Ariosa, Francischetta, Passi in Amore, Rose e Fiore, and so on. The origin and age of these dances with significant names Rose fiore, for instance, means roses and blossoms. Their steps and complicated figures in circles and lines, as well as their tunes performed on violins, guitars, and contrabasses, are unknown. Italian ethnomusicologists assume that this special and just in Bagolino known dance repertoire was developed during the 16th and 17th centuries. This thesis is based on the discovery of some handwritten dance collections from Trentino with comparable dances. The carnival dances of Bagolino are just performed in Carnival, during the rest of the year not. The dancers, called balleri, use traditional carnival costumes which are similar to those of other southern Italian carnival customs. They are guided by a dance master called capo. I remember the capitaine in Mardi Gras. The capo was the one who blew the horn. They perform their dances in front of many houses and places. That means they go from house to house within their community. During 2 days, Bagolino is a dancing city. Before I continue, some words about my work in general. I work, as Jim mentioned, at the Institute for Musicology at the University Mozarteum Salzburg in Innsbruck, the capital of Tyrol. My department of traditional music exists since 1988 and is one of 3 other comparable institutions in Austria which deal with the research in Austrian folk music. Music in customs, especially music in Christmas and Carnival customs, is a research project which started in 2000 and will probably be finished within the next 2 years. My documentary fieldwork is focused on music, instrumental music and songs, as well as dances, movements and sounds in general, which occur in the different contexts of Carnival. We make film documents, sound documents, and photographs not only of the big Carnival runs, but also of the rehearsals. We interview active participants and organizers of Carnival festivities and also elder people in order to get more information about the Carnival history. The problem of doing research work on the history of Carnival is the lack of written sources from former centuries and misleading historical interpretations. In the public opinion, especially in Austria and Germany, Carnival customs seem to go back to pre-Christian Germanic rituals, like to expel winter. This opinion or interpretation, respectively, of Carnival was spread by German and Austrian folklorists from the 19th until the middle of the 20th century, especially in the Nazi time, and corresponds to the belief that every custom which seems to be old is due to Germanic roots. The other Italian folklorists, of course, stated that Carnival was based on pre-Christian Roman roots. Modern and scientific Carnival researchers object to such speculative theories and try to find more realistic explanations. I think you have heard a lot by Samuel Kinsley this morning. Fact number 1 is, we don't have any evidence for Carnival or Carnival-like customs in pre-Christian times. The eldest written evidence for Carnival in German-speaking countries, the word Fasnacht, is from the first half of the 13th century. Fact number 2, we find Carnival customs mostly in Catholic countries and all over the world, not only in former Germanic or Roman countries, and hardly ever in Protestant regions. We also find several mask types in different regions of the world. For instance, the bear, the witch, today I saw the wild man, even in Louisiana, the gypsy group, monkeys, fools, and so on. Moreover, Carnival is a moving festival before Lent. We heard this morning. In most cases, Carnival time starts after January 6th, the feast of Epiphany, and ends with Ash Wednesday. The date of Ash Wednesday depends on the date of Easter. In some years, Carnival lasts until March. In other years, it finishes in January. The deadline for Carnival is Lent, and this fact is important. In former times, and in the little Alpine villages until about 1950, when the influence of the Catholic Church in daily life was much bigger than today, it was strictly forbidden to eat meat, to dance, to have wedding festivities and so on during Lent. But in Carnival, they could. The fact that Carnival is not a regional but an international phenomenon contrasting Lent inspired contemporary German Carnival researchers to develop new theories about the origin of Carnival. I just mentioned the two most important ones, Dietz Rüdiger Moser and his book Fasching, Fasnacht, Carnival, The Feast of the Crazy World, appeared in 1986 in German, not in English. And Werner Metzger's book, Narrenidee und Fasnachtsbrauch, I try to translate, The Idea of Fool and Carnival Custom, subtitle, Studies about the Continuance of the Middle Ages in the European Festival Culture, from 1991. Just the essential points of their ideas. Moser assumes that Carnival is a Christian-motivated allegorical game to represent the sinful, godless world before Lent. He draws his conclusion by interpreting the scriptures of the early fathers, especially of Augustinus, and a lot of iconographical and written sources since the Middle Ages. Further, he agrees with contemporary philologists who claim that terms for carnival, like in German Fasnacht, Fasching, or in Italian Carnevale, show references to terms in the context of Lent, in a Catholic sense. Werner Metzger objects to Moser's theory completely. He regards Carnival as a festivity of foolish behavior, founded in the medieval festivity culture. His explanation for the Carnival phenomenon is less theological than a psychological one. Carnival is the only time between the long Advent, respectively Christmas time, and Lent, when people were allowed to entertain and amuse themselves. In Carnival, they could do things which normally were forbidden: make follies and noise in the streets, drink a lot of alcohol, criticize the government, and so on. Also nowadays, we can feel this atmosphere of carnival license in most of the carnival customs. I think both theories contain true elements. But this discussion, and now I'm approaching to the aspect carnival between tradition and innovation, is limited to the circles of a scientific carnival research. As mentioned before, most people in the Alps, and especially the carnival participants, believe that carnival is a thousands of years old pre-Christian fertility ritual to expel winter and to celebrate the upcoming spring. This opinion is spread by non-scientific hobby folklorists, journalists, and by carnival groups themselves, for instance on their websites. What's the reason for the habit to make customs older than they really are? I think it has to do with a long tradition leading back to the discovery of folk songs, folk costumes, customs, and fairy tales at the end of the 18th and especially in the 19th century in Europe, when suddenly the upper classes appreciated non-artificial arts as expressions of an allegedly natural, unadulterated, basic, national, and therefore valuable culture. Referring to culture, a new way of thinking arose, which was unusual before. Something has to be old that it can be regarded as valuable. By the way, that's not only representative of the Alps. In Caroline Ware's essay on marketing Mardi Gras in Louisiana, appeared in the Western Folklore 2003, I read about the antiquification of cultural practices. Ware remarks, being the oldest or the most traditional Mardi Gras run becomes a point of competition among communities. And in a certain sense, this is also true for Carnival in the Alps. Of course, we have to take the antiquification of Carnival very serious, because interpretations can take influences on the current formations of customs. I know examples for carnivals which were arranged in new ways because the organizers decided to interpret some masks as symbols for summer and the other ones as symbols for winter. They changed the mask order to symbolize the struggle between winter and summer. Let's have a short look at the situation in the Alps. As mentioned in the beginning, the Alps and also Alpine Carnival show a very heterogeneous picture. There exist a lot of different carnival customs, especially in Tyrol, Italy, Switzerland and Slovenia. The carnival in the northern parts of the Alps is influenced by West German carnivals, whereas in the Italian Alps, influences from the south and in Slovenia from the Balkan are evident. In general, we can say there exists no typical Alpine carnival, but a multiplicity of regional and local forms which show parallels to other European and international carnivals. Within a short time, new customs appear, others disappear. The situation is fluctuating all the time. We find the phenomenon of the so-called carnival villages, where carnival is celebrated in older tradition forms, sometimes in intervals of 3, 4, or 5 years. We find carnival runs which attract 15,000 and more spectators in small cities and villages. We also find more private carnival customs just for the neighborhood. In this case, mostly local carnival groups move from house to house or pub to pub and entertain their audience and themselves. And we find the unorganized carnival in bigger towns, especially on Shrove Tuesday, where many people, also women, put on masks, new ones and old ones, and crowd the street and amuse themselves. And of course, there are special carnival parties and festivities for women and even for children. But there is one element which nearly all carnival customs have in common: music in a broad sense. Carnival songs, carnival dances, carnival marches, and other kinds of music performed in carnival. The stylistic range of carnival music is wide. Normally it is traditional folk music and also very new popular music. Many carnival singing groups perform politically and socially critical texts with well-known melodies from current, also international pop songs. This fact can be shown easily by the carnival in Delfs in Tyrol, Austria. In Delfs, the carnival takes place in intervals of 5 years. In the next 4 minutes, I want to show you a few video scenes of the Delfs Carnival in January of this year. You'll see and hear different kinds of music, dances, and movements. Just to inform you about the following scenes, you see first the catching of bears, but real bears, on a snow-covered field before the run, the group of the heralds, the music band, the group of the wild men with a masker called Banzennaf, that's a masker sitting in a barrel, a bell dance of maskers called the Schleichers, then again the bears, a singing gypsy group, and finally a group singing a satirical song using a tune of a contemporary pop song. Please stand to you. So that's the catching
Gypsy group. Their song.
Jetzt gehe ich mir so, doch für mein allerletztes Jahr hab ich noch eine Vision. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Ich baue noch schnell einen Tunnel zum Shopping-Zentrum. Kurz gesagt, es liebe Leiden, ganz das komm ich noch um. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Just to explain what we have seen. Bears. We find bear masks in many Tyrolean carnival customs. This kind of mask is old and traditional. In Delft, bear masks are provable since the 19th century. The group of the bear drivers, and exotic mask beats a special simple rhythm on different drums and other strange rhythm instruments like bellgrees, accompanied by alpine and non-alpine exotic wind instruments like shawms. The rhythm is always the same. The heralds in supposed medieval fantasy costumes are a young group. They played a relatively new signal piece on their heralds' trumpets, composed by a military musician in the 1960s. The music band played a well-known tune, Tequila by Chuck Rio, an international pop hit, I think from the 60s or 70s. The musicians were dressed in Mexican costumes. The custom that music bands march at the beginning of carnival runs is, concerning Tyrol, relatively new, taking over from the Rhenish Carnival in Germany. In the next scene you saw the group of the wild men in their green costumes made of tree moss and the so-called Banznaf, in English barrel monkey, the masker sitting in a barrel dressed in an exotic, namely Turkish costume, beating a simple rhythm on cymbals and putting out his tongue. The wild man is a mask which is known since the Middle Ages in all of Europe. The Banznaf, of course, is just a mask of the Delfer Schleichelaufen. The fifth scene showed the highlight of the carnival in Delft, the performance of the Schleichers. The term Schleicher is due to the verb schleichen, in English to creep, to sneak, to move slowly. This mask named the Carnival of Delft. It is called Delfer Schleichelaufen. Characteristic for the Schleichers are the big, heavy hats showing motifs and scenes from Alpine agricultural life. The hats are due to an innovation of the year 1884, when an artist from Delft created the Delft Carnival in the nowadays known way. Of course, the Schleichelaufen in Delft is older. It was mentioned for the first time in 1830. The dance of the Schleichers is a bell dance with special steps. The maskers wear bells with heavy forged cowbells. Inside of the circle you saw the so-called landlord who hailed the Hana guests sitting on the grandstand, among them Jim Dow, as he mentioned. Further you saw some other maskers within the circle performing special dance-like steps. The so-called goatherd blew a signal with a little alp horn at the beginning and at the end of the dance. And this dance is rehearsed for several times during Carnival. And the steps are always the same. There are strict rules how to behave, and this is tradition. In the seventh scene you saw the so-called Laninger, a group of men dressed as gypsies. The group song is probably 200 years old. Gypsy maskers occur in many carnivals of the world, But the Laningas of Delft refer to a former social minority of homeless and mobile people, the so-called Jenische, who became resident and assimilated in Tyrol as late as in the 1960s. But in Carnival, they live on. All in all, you can see the stylistic range of Carnival music is very wide. Old music and dances exist next to new musical expressions. From this wide range, I can show you just a few examples more. Very significant for Carnival customs in the Alps, and not only there, are dances performed by bell-wearing maskers. As Moser and Metzger realized, the bell is the most spread instrument of Carnival at all. In the Alps, we find bells of different kinds and sizes, mostly forged cowbells, like in the dance of the Schleichers. Furthermore, cast bells and round bells, as they were common on foolscaps. And we find a fascinating diversity of organized bell dances, following very special rules. The next example shows a contrast to Delft. The location is in the city, but a very little village in the Italian Alps. Benia, a fraction of Canazei, and the last village in the Fassa Valley, in the province of Trentino. Initially a peasant village, today a tourism place. In the Fassa Valley we find a minority group called Ladins, who speak a Romanic language. The masker group is small. There is the so-called laquais, in English lackey, the bouffon, a comical mask with a wooden telescope, a wooden sword, and little round bells on his arms, and 2 or 3 pairs of bell-wearing maskers called marascons. The marascons are equipped with cast bells on 3 bells tuned in the notes of the C major chord. The number can vary between 9 little bells to 15 big bells. Whereas the Carnival in Delft is open to a big public, the one in Benia is a festivity just for its inhabitants. You hardly ever see tourists when they celebrate the Carnival. The Carnival run in Benia goes like this. At night, the maskers move on to the well in the middle of the village, round the well for 3 times, and then they go on to the old school of Benia. There inside, the audience already expects the maskers, also waiting for the beginning of the so-called masquerada. Masquerada, that's the performance of a stage play. The ritual before the stage play is shown in our next video example. The age of this custom is unknown. We just know that it already existed at the end of the 19th century. It's about 8 o'clock. They're on the way. Now there is schoolhouse. Lucky. He announces the masquerade. And das ist Charlie. Second lucky. To say several things to certain persons. Or what to say is to certain persons. In the marathon, you must imagine it's a very small room and there's a lot of people there. The next example is comparable to Benia as far as it also deals with a carnival custom, not for the masses, but for the neighborhood within a village. The so-called Mullen, a custom practiced in some villages around Innsbruck, is very exciting because you find young elements combined with older ones. The Muller groups consist of several special masks. Among them, there are old ones like witches and bears. The origin of the term Mullen is not clear. Maybe it has to do with to say nothing, because the masks don't speak. Some of them just make vocal sounds. The maskers enter the pubs or farmhouses in a certain order and with special movements and dance steps, while an accordion player uninterruptedly plays traditional tunes. Among the participants, the custom is seen as an old pre-Christian fertility ritual. Interpretations, as mentioned before, took influence on the course of the run. In the village Rum, near of Innsbruck, for instance, the organizers decided in the 1960s to change the order of the mask in this way that the supposed winter masks entered the house before the supposed summer masks, in order to symbolize the victory of the warm season over the cold season. The age of the masks and the custom is, not surprisingly, unknown, but maybe older than 200 years. According to what I found out, it started in the 1920s that elements of the so-called Schuhplattler, initially a folk dance which is cultivated by so-called Schuhplattler associations, respectively costume associations, flew into the elder Muller tradition. At least since the 1930s, it is usual that the performance of a Schuhplattler is the final highlight of a Muller performance. On video, you'll see a Muller performance in a pub, and also elements like the so-called Abmullen, that means a masker gives a strong clap at the spectator's shoulder and offers him schnapps. Maybe you know what schnapps is, a strong alcohol drink. And you will hear the so-called Mullerwalzer, an accordion piece as the signature tune of this custom. Please stand before. The first group to come in are witches. They are all men, of course. This is Abmullen. The next, the witches will like this, and then calm, and also schnapps. In little bottles. One has to drink, of course. And now comes the Spielmann, the accordion player. followed by the Kuttler. It's interesting, in Absam, they made their costumes out of garbage of a textile factory. This tune is the Mullerwalzer. It's a signature tune. This figure is called the frog when we go down the floor. You have to jump without using your hands. Blue one, Zakala. We don't know a lot about this name. We don't know why this is Zakala. The Germans, the origin is unknown. This is a very important element, the dress product, that it comes from the Schuhblattler Association. This is a beautiful mask. It's the so-called Flechler. The costume is made of wood. Doors uploading again. Those one, Gupta, is a young man. Do you hear it sound? These are Schuhblattler movements. The final highlight, from Schuhblattler. The so-called cross polka. To come to the end, carnival customs in the Austrian and Italian Alps contain a lot of traditional elements. But on the other side, they have always been open to new ideas. Very often you find old elements next to very new ones, also in respect of music. My final video example shows a group